Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to another video. Hope you are all doing well. So for today's video, I'm going to be covering the sentencing of Kevin Murray. I've had a lot of people request I do a video on this, giving my thoughts and opinion on the sentencing, what transpired in court, the things that he actually was convicted of, etc., etc. So that's what I'm going to be doing for you guys today. And most of my subscribers and viewers are in Mendocino County in California. However, I do have some new subs and people that might not reside in that area. So for those of you that don't know, Kevin Murray was a police sergeant with the Ukiah Police Department of Mendocino County. He has since been fired for these crimes that I'm going to be going over in this video today. And he, been arrested a couple times. And these crimes spanned from the years of 2013 to 2018. He was in law enforcement working as an officer for the Ukiah Police Department this entire time. 3 separate incidents. And I've done videos on all 3 of these things in great detail. I'm not going to go over them in great detail again for the sake of time and repetitiveness and things like that. I'll link them in the description if you want to take it upon yourself to watch them. But essentially, it's 3 separate incidents involving 3 separate women during that 2013-2018 time frame. The first, I believe, was in 2013. It involved him. He was away at a work training with a female officer that was brand new. He ended up sexually assaulting her in her hotel room. The secondary incident involved a nurse where he knew her and he was in her home and she alleged that he raped her. He was armed with a firearm during the commission of that as well. And the most recent time is his partner pulled over 2 women, one of which was driving under the influence. She was arrested, taken to county jail. The other one just happened to be a prostitute, and Kevin found out where he was working to. He showed up to the scene, figured out where her hotel was, went in there 2 different times, broke in and sexually assaulted her. So those 3 crimes, and he's, like I said, he's been arrested for those as well. And also during this entire thing, that this has been transpiring after he's been fired and arrested. He lives in Lake County. He walked into a store. Some woman had set her wallet on a shelf or forgot it there because she had 2 kids she was dealing with. And he's seen on camera going and taking the wallet, stuffing it down his pants, and he later turned in the wallet, but there was like cash and other things missing from it. So he stole that. He caught another case for that when he was, dealing with all this other stuff that he's going to court for. So this finally came to an end a couple days ago, and he was sentenced to, like I said, the felony intimidating a witness and misdemeanor count of falsely imprisoning another woman. So 2 different victims for that. The other victim for the 2013 incident, I believe they said the statutes of limitations had passed. For most felonies, it's 3 years, and that's, substantially longer than that time. They also would not allow her to testify or say anything, and she is still currently in law enforcement. So that's what he was convicted of, and the sentencing aspect of that, 2 years formal probation, so he has to be supervised by a probation officer, and he has terms of search, seizure, drug test. He has a drug test. He can't have drugs, no marijuana, no alcohol, can't enter into where, any place where alcohol is chief item of sale, liquor store, bars, stuff like that, can't own any weapons. Very standard terms, okay, for somebody on formal probation. Additionally, he has to go to a certified treatment program for sex offenders for a year. Now, what's ridiculous with that is, and I don't know if I've mentioned this in videos prior, I can't remember, but Kevin Murray, during his time at the Ukiah Police Department, admitted to being a sex addict. And he was sent, at the request of his command staff, to go to a rehab for sex addicts. So clearly that did not work. Okay, it was based on another incident that had occurred, and they felt that it was a good idea for him to go do that, and that was his thing. Like, I'm a sex addict, this is why I did this, I need to go to this rehab. And obviously that didn't work. So one, that doesn't make any sense, because clearly he failed at that, and I'm not sure why they felt that was appropriate this time around. Additionally, it's a program for sex offenders, so you're acknowledging the fact that he's a sex offender by sending him to a sex offender program. He is a predator, you're acknowledging that fact as well, but you're not having him register as a sex offender. And the way that they skirted around that registration issue, which they did intentionally, of course, is based on the crimes that he was convicted of. You're not required to register as a sex offender if it's for false imprisonment and dissuading a witness. It's in the state of California, you don't have to register as a sex offender for that. But they're still sending him to this program. The other joke, this whole thing is a joke, of course. It's a disgrace, it's an embarrassment, that's very clear. The other thing that's a joke here is they gave him a suspended prison sentence, which is smoke and mirrors. They gave this intentionally based on the information that I've seen, heard, read, whatever, that they're taking this case seriously. And they just threw this out there like, oh yeah, we gave him a suspended prison sentence. And what that is, guys, is so, and I don't know what that term is. It doesn't state anywhere like how long he would go to prison if he violates. So what the suspended prison sentence term would be. But for an example, somebody gets 2 years of probation, formal probation. Then the judge will say, okay, you have a 4-year suspended sentence hanging over your head, EOSS. So if you mess up one time during your 2-year probationary period, you automatically go to prison for 4 years. Now, in theory, that sounds okay for a normal thing, right? But what in reality, that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen at all. I used to be a probation officer prior to being a deputy and being a police officer, police sergeant with Wills PD as well. And that's never the case. I've seen some hardcore bad dudes with bad cases and, on probation, and they violate 3, 4, 5, 6 times with suspended prison sentences hanging over their head as part of their terms, and they never go to prison. They never go to prison. That's very, very few and far between. Based on the state of California, decriminalization, leniency, slap on the wrist for everything. They like to give these offenders multiple chances. I still have friends that work in probation, and they are very irritated with that fact. The fact that they've told me that personally, like, man, we have to keep giving these guys chances when we didn't used to have to back in the day. So the fact that they gave Kevin Murray a suspended prison sentence, they did that to appease the public. They did that to say like, oh yeah, they created this shitty plea deal. The DA's office, the district attorney's office in Mendocino County, and Kevin Murray's attorney, they came together with this garbage slap on the wrist plea deal. The judge indicated that, like, I don't want people to view it as a slap on the wrist. It is. It's absolutely a slap on the wrist. This is like, I've arrested people for burglary, breaking into someone's home while they were away on vacation and stealing some things. No one got hurt. No one was there. I arrest them. I get the evidence. They go to court. They get a similar sentencing like that Kevin Murray just got. And he has like way more egregious crimes that he's committed. It's a complete joke. So they did this. They created this shitty plea deal. And I think they're like, okay, damn, like this plea deal sucks. The public's already pissed off. We can tell because people are protesting, which was awesome, by the way. Some of those signs I read were hilarious. And I was right there with you guys. Like, I feel it. It was really nice to see. And you guys put the pressure on them, and that's legit. So I think that they're like, man, the public's pissed. They're going to be pissed. We better make it seem like we actually care and we're doing something. Let's just throw out this suspended prison sentence. We all know it's bullshit, but at the end of the day, maybe the public doesn't know that. So that's not real life, guys. A suspended prison sentence means absolutely nothing. And also, you're going to have to find like a probation officer that's even willing to competently supervise this guy. And Kevin's been a cop for a long ass time. You don't think that he can violate his probation and get away with it? If you know what you're doing and you know the system, like, that's not going to be overly challenging for him. So more than likely, he's going to be successful getting off of this probationary period, if he even gets supervised at all. Depending on if he's going to be supervised by a probation officer in his county that he lives in, which is Lake County, and probably he's going to be friends or know that person. So let's see how that goes. Yeah, so that's obviously a complete joke. And the DA's office, the reason for this plea deal, they stated that they were not confident with their evidence that they had or lack thereof, or their case in general was not solid enough that if they had taken it to trial, that they would win. They felt that they could not prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he was guilty of these crimes, meaning that they knew that they were going to lose. What's very, so then they offered this sweetheart deal, like, hey man, just take this shitty ass deal. Let's just say fuck it and move on. So in my opinion, it's very, very interesting, because if I'm Kevin Murray, also part of the deal, they did not require him to enter a plea of guilty. Just no contest. That was it. Didn't even require a guilty plea from Kevin. It's crazy. So, but what's interesting about that to me is the fact that, okay, if I'm Kevin Murray and I'm innocent, which he claims to be an innocent, he actually said that I'm going to owe him an apology when he gets let off and he's innocent. Well, I guess I don't owe you an apology, Kevin, do I? Because obviously you got convicted of 2 things at least, so I'm not doing that. And I wasn't going to do it anyway, because you're guilty as shit for all of these crimes you've been accused of. What's interesting about this, though, is if I'm Kevin Murray and I'm innocent, like he claims to have been all this time, I'm not going to take any deal. I'm not going to take any deal. I'm going to go straight to the box. I'm going to take it to jury trial. It's like, great. And also his attorney, high-priced attorney that I believe his current wife, he's been married 3 times, divorced twice, has 4 kids. His current wife's family floated the bill for it. Very, very good attorney. If I'm his attorney and I'm Kevin Murray and I'm like, the DA's office is willing to offer me this deal of a lifetime. And they're clearly not confident in their case, and they know they're going to lose if we go to trial. So why the hell are we going to take any deal at all? Let's just go to trial, and that way my client, Kevin Murray, doesn't even have to do 2 years probation. He doesn't even have to go to this sex program, which isn't going to work for him anyway, because he's mentally fucked forever with that type of stuff. And, you know, no suspended prison sentence, which isn't real anyway. Let's just have him get off like scot-free with anything. So why was that not done? The fact that they pled no contest and took a deal at all clearly shows an admission of guilt, and they're probably like a sigh of relief, like, oh, thank God, because they, you know, at least my client didn't get to go to prison. The other thing that was ridiculous is, you know, the judge stating that, you know, one step of this side of the line and you're going to the joint. No, that's a lie. His suspended prison sentence means absolutely nothing. She also felt that, so guys, judges typically will not go against plea deals, right? If the prosecution and the defense come up with an agreement, the judge will typically honor that. However, at the end of the day, they absolutely have the legal authority. They are the ultimate power to go against a plea deal. Rare, but it can happen. So at the end of the day, this was the judge's decision. Yes, the district attorney's office was completely incompetent and created this stupid deal, and this is what the end result was. But at the end of the day, it's multiple people's fault that this occurred. What's also funny is that the prosecution, they changed their minds last minute. Once they saw the people protesting and how upset people were and like all the backlash they were getting online and things like that, they changed it last minute. They went into court like, oh no, actually we think that we went against what we said before, and now we think that Kevin Murray should have to go to jail. Yeah, it should be more serious this time for sure. Like, if you're gonna create some shitty weak ass plea deal because you don't care, just stick with it. You know what I mean? It's embarrassing that you have to change your mind and retract what you said very last minute because you're obviously scared of what the public perception is going to be of you guys if you don't do at least that minimally. People are smart in that community. They're not stupid. Everyone clearly sees what that was about. And like I said, if you're going to do something, just stick with it the entire time. You know, don't be a coward and flip-flop and change it out last minute. You know what I mean? Like that, it's such a joke. It's such a joke. And also, the judge, another thing that I thought was pretty ridiculous was the judge says, it will take generations for trust in law enforcement to be fully restored because of your conduct, and the damage you have done to the Ukiah Police Department cannot be underestimated. Who gives a shit about the reputation of the Ukiah Police Department? First of all, their reputation has never been good as long as I've been in law enforcement. Even growing up as a kid in Ukiah back in the late 90s, early 2000s, their reputation sucked ass. They had Pete Hoyle. They had a bunch of other cops that were horrible there. Everybody knew it. Nobody liked the Ukiah Police Department. So their reputation has been shit for years. And Kevin Murray is a part of that, of course, but also so is Noble Weidlich, his friend and ex-boss and ex-police chief that was recently fired for sexually assaulting a woman. Weird. You know, they're cut from the same cloth, obviously, and Noble Weidlich's still going to court for, you know, beating the shit out of his ex-girlfriend, and hopefully he gets found guilty of that in civil court, which I'm sure he will because the evidence is very abundant. Anyway, but you know, and the city of Ukiah has paid out millions of dollars for these various lawsuits, not just for Kevin Murray, but for other officers there as well. They had those guys that beat the shit out of that naked guy with mental health issues on camera. They had to pay out a substantial amount of money for that. Obviously, Kevin Murray has been involved in his, you know, fair share of legal issues as well, and had the city having to pay out settlements when he broke into Chris Roskew's house and beat the shit out of him unjustifiably so, and you know, violated all kinds of Chris's rights and everything like that. And the city ended up paying up over $1 million, you know, toward Chris for all that and his medical expenses and everything else. So. But it's not just Kevin Murray. It's a lot of officers there. Like, they need to clean shop, just like the Mendocino County Sheriff's Office does, just like, you know, Wilt's police chief needs to get fired as well. I mean, there are a lot of issues at all of these agencies. And so her saying that he ruined their reputation, no, that was ruined long ago. But at the end of the day, who gives a shit about their reputation? I don't see anywhere in here at all where it addresses the victims themselves. What about the victims? What about the fact that he ruined the lives of 3 women that'll never be the same again, that have to live with this shit for the rest of their life? And they get to see a predator and their assailant basically go scot-free. Like, how does that feel to them? Like, and you're bringing up the fact that, like, UPD's rep is damaged? What the It makes no sense to me. Also, the judge said that she could tell that, you know, she felt comfortable with this type of sentence because Kevin Murray seemed remorseful in a letter that he wrote to her. I'm going to show you guys the letter on the screen. You can pause it if you want. I'm not going to read the entire thing. This is a letter that Kevin Murray wrote to Judge Mormon. What part of this letter seems remorseful to you guys? This is 4 small, shitty paragraphs. The only thing I see in here is, I am truly sorry for the pain that I've caused. Pain that you caused, that you caused to who, Kevin? The rest of this letter is about him, me, myself, and I have PTSD, I have mental health issues, I have kids, I want this for my future. Zero remorse. This is textbook narcissism right here. And PTSD, it's brought up in court. Cry to me harder, Kevin, about PTSD. Lots of cops have PTSD. I have PTSD. Does that give you the right, just because you have PTSD and you didn't get to see your kids as a cop, to go like sexually assault 3 women and completely get away with it, give you the right to beat the shit out of people on duty? That gives you an excuse to go do all this shit? And the judge, if I was a judge and I read this, I'd be like, dude, based on this letter alone, I'm not sorry. I have to send you to prison just because of this letter. Like, absolutely. And she also said that she didn't feel, based on, and so judges, they have sentencing guidelines, okay? So if you're convicted of certain crimes, you have to follow those sentencing guidelines for the state, right? So she said that he could either get 2 years probation or 16 years in prison. She said she felt that prison would not be appropriate, or jail would not be appropriate, based on his remorse, which is non-existent. I don't see it at all. It wasn't addressed in court. It's not addressed in this letter. It's not addressed in anything. And, that he would be successful on probation. It'd be easier to supervise him on probation, which again, I don't know how they're going to do that, because he's probably going to be friends with whoever it is, or they're just not going to take it seriously, or, whatever. But this case was handled by Sonoma County Probation Department, the PSI, so the Pre-Sentence Investigation Report. So, and like I said, I used to be a probation officer. What that looks like is somebody commits a crime, they're going to court for it. You have to conduct a pre-sentence investigation report on them, and you're basically, trying to determine if the probation is going to be appropriate. Some crimes are automatic disqualifiers for probation. Like, you cannot be on probation. However, if they are not, then probation will review everything. You're going to review all the case reports of your cases. You're going to talk to all the law enforcement officers involved in the case. You're going to talk to all the victims involved in the case. You're going to gather character letters, which are bullshit anyway. You're going to look at education. You're going to look at employment history. You're going to look at literally somebody's entire life to get a clear picture of who they are, what they've done, and then determine, okay, is this criminal history, etc. Is probation going to be appropriate? Are they going to likely be successful in it versus jail time, right? So Sonoma County Probation Department did this PSI, and according to them, this is also another interesting thing, they did not receive all the reports pertaining to all these cases. Right? So they said that the DA's office sent them selective reports. So it sounds like they only sent them one involving that girl, the prostitute that he had broken into her hotel room. That was the only one. And they had to make their case based off of that. Initially, they said jail time was not appropriate. He should be on probation only, blah, 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 based on this, and this. And so that was very interesting, because speaking from personal experience, you don't do that. You don't get reports from the DA's office. You're going to go to each individual agency, contact records, and get all those reports. You're going to contact all the victims, which they did not do either. They did not talk to 2 of them. You're going to gather as much information as humanly possible to make a sound decision. That didn't get done. So I don't know if it was laziness, incompetence, or is done intentionally. I don't trust anybody anymore, like, when it comes to that stuff. So in my opinion, it was done on purpose. But then again, it later changed, which pissed off the Mendocino County DA's office, because probation ended up obtaining another report from that nurse. And so then they changed their mind and said, okay, now we think that 12-month jail time is going to be appropriate as well. And the DA's office was like, well, they didn't follow what the agreement was. They were just supposed to go off of this one case. That's shady as hell. The DA's office is saying that they're only allowed to go off of this one case and not look at everything as a whole to make an informed, educated decision. Like, what are you guys hiding? Like, what is this? This might be me being paranoid again, but I'm thinking, what does Kevin Murray, and he's been in law enforcement world in Mendocino County a while, what does he have over these judges' heads? What does he have over people in the DA's office? To where they're like, Kevin, we know, but we have to give you something. We have to at least give you this sentence. If we don't, we're all fucked. And he's probably like, yeah, I understand. You know what I mean? That's where my mind's going. Again, I could be paranoid. I could be wrong on that fact, but I don't understand how else this entire thing would make sense. The other thing that's hilarious with probation, and I don't know what this probation officer is doing, how new they are, or what their deal is, but it was also suggested that, so like I said, the PSI, they go off of everything, right, to determine if you're going to be successful in probation. So what they're saying, since Kevin Murray has no prior convictions of any kind, either misdemeanor or felony, no shit, He has no prior convictions. Of course not. He was in law enforcement forever, and he got away with all this shit for so long because of who his boss was, Noah Weidlich, that clearly allowed him just to do whatever the fuck he wanted. And now he's finally got caught because these various women had the courage to finally come forward to report this based on their each extenuating circumstances, right? So why would he have a record? The whole point is he committed these crimes and now he is going to have a record. So just because he has lack of record, him being a cop, what does that have to do with anything? Also, the fact that he has never previously been supervised, his military background and personal history all suggest that he will be a successful probationer. What does military background have to do with anything? I've never been in the military, but I've had friends and family in the military. I've supervised guys when I was a probation officer that were in the military. It has nothing to do with anything. What does that have to do with anything? Because he's in the military over a decade prior, you think he's going to be successful on probation because he sexually assaulted 3 women? The two are not mutually exclusive. Like what? That logic makes absolutely no sense. He was in the army or whatever he was in. Therefore, if you are in the military, you will absolutely be successful on probation, no matter what. I don't understand that logic. And what he was doing when he was a cop, and these are just the things he got caught for, guys. Like, there's probably a bunch of other shit that we don't even know about. There actually is some stuff that I do know about that I'm still gathering information on that I'm going to bring up as well. So maybe we can catch him in another case. Also, his personal history suggests he'll be successful. His personal history is absolutely atrocious. Absolutely atrocious. He sexually assaulted 3 women. He's had a slew of settlements that had to get paid out while he was a cop for violating people's rights. He stole a mother's wallet in Lake County when he was going to court for all these cases. And it was on video and everything. Like, there's no disputing it. So what good personal history are you talking about? He's been divorced twice. There's been issues in both of those marriages. Like, I don't understand where this personal history, this is all lies. This is fabrications. This is all just, I don't know if he's homies with this probation officer as well. I'm going to put this up for you guys too, as well as these character letters. If you want to pause them and read them. I think 2 of them are actually from his ex-wives, ironically enough. And then, some other random people that have no idea about anything. So I'll put those up for you guys as well. I mean, if you guys can't tell, I think this was a huge disservice and disgrace and embarrassment. And I've been asked if I think that he's going to be able to be a cop again. No, I mean, he does have a felony conviction. You know what I mean? So no, unless there's an agency that's going to somehow overlook that and be desperate enough. Who knows? I mean, the entire administration at the Mendocino County Sheriff's Office are all non-convicted felons. They've all committed felonies. So they might offer him a job upon successful completion of probation, and shit, they might make him like a sergeant or lieutenant. I don't know. I guess it's not out of the realm of possibilities. Also, I wanted to bring up this. I'll put it up on the screen. This comment, it was on one of the articles, Mendo Fever. I didn't read that article because that guy's also a liar and he recently got kicked off of search and rescue, which is awesome. Anyway, this guy, Jim Brown. I applaud Judge Mormon's sentencing on disgraced ex-cop Murray. 2 years supervised probation with all terms and conditions attached will be much tougher than jail. 1 year of sex offender treatment, search and seizure clause, chemical testing, and regular check-ins is no cakewalk. I am confident probation will stay on top of this offender. There are a lot of criminal offenders who would have taken the 6 remaining months in jail and walked. Hopefully the treatment and accountability will have a greater impact than 3 hots in a cot. Remember, jail time still hanging on successful completion of probation. So most people do not share this opinion in the community that I've talked to. I've seen all the protesting. I brought up this specifically because Jim Brown, I think, is a fake account that one of the judges or the defense attorneys or probation created and went and typed up. Like, oh yeah, these guys did a great job. This is exactly what he needs. Just to prove their, just to have somebody on their side. That's exactly what this looks like. It was just a funny thing that I read, you guys. This is so ridiculous. This person is so out of touch with reality, has no idea what probation is. Regular check-ins is the easiest thing on earth. Chemical testing is a joke. And like I said, this is all based on the fact if you're banking on having a competent probation officer and somebody that he doesn't know, which isn't always the case either. I've actually had to supervise some of my friends that I grew up with before when I was a probation officer. I did the right thing, but they didn't give a shit, I tried to be like, hey, there's a conflict of interest here. I can't supervise this person. And I was told, tough shit, we're short-staffed. You're going to have to do it. I don't care if it used to be your best friend. So it's Lake County too. It's a small community, small agency. So that might end up being the case, and that's where he lives. So it's tragic, guys. I don't know what's going to fix it. FBI doesn't care. DOJ doesn't care. I've talked to the FBI multiple times. I've referred people to them, DOJ as well. and it seems like Mendocino County just gets to run around and do whatever they want. Side note with the Noble Weidlich thing, really quick, I'm going to cut it off. So this just came out today, Ukiah Daily Journal, Noble Weidlich, ex-police chief, Kevin Murray's buddy. That's been super hush-hush for months. Sonoma County Sheriff's Office is doing the investigation that has taken months on end to investigate one sexual assault that should have taken a week, right? But they said it's been under investigation this entire time. Bullshit. It does not take that long. And they were supposed to disclose some of the information per the detective or whoever was handling the case. I forgot the guy's name. But they recently just put out this article, Ukiah Daily Journal. I'll link it. That information finally got sent to the Mendocino County District Attorney's Office, and they acknowledged they received it, but will not disclose what it is. So I'm telling you guys this because and it's been very clear to me, without public involvement in Mendocino County when it comes to these guys, their shit's gonna get swept under the rug, or they're gonna get slapped on the wrist, like with Kevin Murray. And you guys did do something with the protesting and stuff. You got the DA, at least, even though it didn't do anything, to go in last minute and change their stance on Kevin's sentencing, right? So I'm letting you guys know, I'm gonna try to stay on top of the Noble Weidlich thing, and I'm still trying to find out information. I'm sure I'm gonna find out more at some point now that it's in Mendocino County, and I'm gonna put as much of it as I can online for you guys. So I'm gonna keep you guys as informed as always, and kind of go from there. So that's gonna be it for today's video, guys. I'm gonna upload the last part 4 of the RICO investigation case video, I think tomorrow, and we'll keep it moving after that. That's gonna be it. Take care.